Hello my awesome people, how's it going? It's the WelshKing here, and welcome to another review. And today, because it's 2014, I have to make a quick apology because I intended to make a Christmas special, but being Christmas, it got crazy. And, you know, just too much stuff going on. And I apologise I haven't released a video sooner this year because there's been some issues going on, personal issues, which I won't really go into because I don't think you want to hear my personal problems and stuff, because you're just here for the games. So, in light of you waiting, I decided I'd give you a treat by reviewing this. A blank box. I know, I couldn't find a box for the game I'm going to review because it's $15 on Steam. So today we're going to review the Stanley Parable. Got you there, didn't I? No, of course we're not going to review the Stanley Parable. Does it look like I review any new games on this channel? Well, I might do once or twice, I guess. You know, I suppose. But anyway, continuing on. This is what we're actually going to review. Wacky Races, Crash and Dash. So, I suppose we should actually get on with it then, shall we? Released in 2008, Wacky Races, Crash and Dash is a video game based on the cartoon series Wacky Races, made by Hanna-Barbera, which aired for one series over the course of 70 episodes from 1968 to 1969. And this show is quite heavily popular. I mean, with too many video games to its name, of which I only have 4, and even, I can't even believe this myself, a future feature-length film in the works by the guys who produced Happy Feet. So, this is pretty popular. Oh, and it had a Peugeot car advert in Brazil. Yeah. This game, of course, was made by Eidos Interactive Studios. Of course, famous for the absolutely critically acclaimed Tomb Raider series. Of course, this game stands a fairly good chance under Eidos' creative visions. The game was a Nintendo exclusive for the DS, and of course for the Nintendo Wii. Now, before I go any further, I have to admit, I love Wacky Races as a whole, as I grew up watching it as a kid. Some kids had the Pokemon TV show, some kids had the Powerpuff Girls TV show, but I had good old Wacky Races, and I love how this game made Wacky Races return in a sense, with Wacky Races being 40 years old at the time of this game's release. Now this is where Wacky Races in a sense hits a pothole, because the television show is over 40 years old, so unless you grew up watching it in the 60s, are a big fan of old animation and cartoons like myself, or if you have Cartoon Network and or Boomerang on your satellite box at home, then the chances are you've never heard of it. So already Wacky Races has got a problem, because the 3 to 10-year-old main demographic which the game caters towards now has at least a 50% chance that they have never heard of the television show. So by catering for the kiddies rather than the actual fans of the show like myself, this is quite a crucial error, because let's face it, is a kid-orientated game likely to keep hardcore fans of the show invested? The answer is no. The point I'm trying to make is that Crash and Dash is a kids game, which makes little sense given the element that this game draws from is at least 30 years older than the catered demographic of the game. And unfortunately this makes fans who want to enjoy the game end up disliking it because it's too childish, and the kiddies who might have seen the show might actually enjoy it like I did when I was a kid, but otherwise they'll be thinking, who are Dick Dastardly and Muttley, and when can I unlock SpongeBob and Patrick or Mordecai and Rigby? And speaking of unlocking things, good luck doing that in this game, because there's no unlockables. Well, except gallery pictures of the drivers and the cars, but seriously, does anybody want those? They're just pictures on the game with a snippet of information about each one that serves no purpose to advance the plot whatsoever. Oh, and the plot. Yeah, now that I mention it. About that. You guessed it. There is no darn plot! Because that would be stupid in a generic kiddies racing game, and plus, this isn't Crash Team fricking Racing. But anyway, so let's have a look at the game in a little bit more detail. I suppose, to do that, we actually have to play the game. So, let's get on with it. So, according to the narrator, we have landed in Traffic Jambalaya. Now, of course, being a Wacky Races fan, I've seen the episode of Traffic Jambalaya, and this looks like a perfect 3D model of Traffic Jambalaya and what it would look like in 3D, so I have to commend that for starters.
as well as the cars, the music and the environment. They all look absolutely fantastic. And also, I love the idea of the cogs giving you power-ups. Something that really bugs me about this game, though, is how much the camera is constantly shifting. 1 minute it'll be a side-scrolling racer, the next it will change to a retro-esque top-down racing game. These camera changes just make the game extremely disorientating. I seriously have trouble keeping up with what's going on in this game, with the camera constantly changing and the unpredictable amount of chaos which is either ahead or behind me. This is making the game quite annoying when I crash into a tree per se, because the camera's constant shifts won't let me see it.
There is one issue with this game. Because there's no unlockables, you get everything shoved in front of you. You get all the characters to play as. Okay, I'm lying. Sorry, but, you know, that's a lie. You can't play as all 11 characters. Yes, folks, out of all 11 characters, you can only play as 10. And I guess you're thinking, well, what's the difference? Well, when you miss out the main characters so they can be minigame hosts, well, that's a big no-no for me. For a Wacky Races game to impress me, Dick Dastardly and Muttley and the Mean Machine must be available as a playable character. And I know that's a personal preference, but, you know, just go along with it. And the fact is, they're not. So, why you do this to me, game, huh? Why you do this to me, Idos? You're the only Wacky Races game that I can't play as Dick Dastardly and Muttley in. Do you not want me to thrash the other racers in a purple rocket machine? I mean, I swear that the people who created this game were just basically thinking, let's make this generic racing game that kiddies will lap up and enjoy because kids are too stupid to complain, and they'll take anything that's shoved in front of them and said to be cool. And then shove Wacky Races and Dick Dastardly on the front, and boom! Wacky Races, crash and dash. Yeah.
I must admit, Eidos has done a pretty good job of emulating the TV show into a game. The characters look great, all the tracks look like they spring straight from the TV show, and the music fits the atmosphere quite well, so that slightly redeems the game. However, there are only 3 talking characters in the entire game. The narrator, Dick Dastardly, and Muttley only laughs. I mean, all the non-playable characters have voices, and the playable ones don't. Why did this happen? I want to hear taunts from the racers as Red Max aims his mounted machine gun and Penelope Pitstop threatens other racers with a hairdryer. I could care less about which racer talks because, let's face it, the narrator gets really annoying really fast. Now earlier I mentioned about minigames, so I figured now is a good time to talk about them. So there'll be roughly 3 minigames per race, and each one starts with Dastardly and Muttley driving through the mess that is the other racers until the car goes off screen. After that we get a delightful mini-cartoon to do with what the minigame is about. Could be anything from sailing your car down a river, explosive tennis, and dodge the falling rocks.
What are the dastardly pair up to now? They seem as busy as bees.
Oh, yes. And soon the freshly appointed sharp ends of my wicked waspy warriors will put an end to those wacky highway high rollers. Oh, dress me in daisies if this isn't my most devious diversion.
Okay, I'm majorly confused now by this cutscene because the narrator calls them bees, Dick Dastardly calls them wasps, and the game calls them mosquitoes. Why can't you just say they're pencils with wings with robotic microchips in them? No? Oh no, wait, this is a kid's game. What am I thinking? Just draw a robotic insect with a sharp-edged nose next time. Now, the mini-games are interesting for a short amount of time, and there are large difficulty spikes with each one. And some like to use the Wii Remote in the most annoying ways imaginable, such as this one, which requires you to constantly turn your arm around in the most awkward of positions just to put some nuts and bolts in their right holes. And also a different mini-game, which requires you to draw a straight line when your arms are completely aching from shaking the Wii Remote back and forth to power up your car. It's just not physically possible with aching arms. Anyway, so after completing most of the race, you'll hit this white line. This white line is of course the equivalent to the final stretch of the race, but it's called the Mad Dash line. So remember how sore your arms are? Well, they're about to get hurt even more, because you have to shake your arm really violently that it's almost like a spastic fish getting electrocuted. Now, making this review, I realised I needed a special something. So, I thought, let's have a look at two more Wii games that use the Wii Remote in a similar fashion to the one being used in Wacky Races Crash and Dash, but maybe perhaps not so violent. So, I've got two games with me right here, so let's show you how they compare to Wacky Races Crash and Dash. So for example, let's have a look at Wii Sports Tennis. You shake the remote about on that, but is it violent? Well, if you have a look here, basically, this is just a simple swing of the Wii Remote. Not violent at all. So finally, I have Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. So let's see how its Wii Remote controls differ from Wacky Races Crash and Dash. Once again, Pirates of the Caribbean's control setup is not violent at all. In fact, it's about the same level of violence as Wii Sports Tennis, even though it uses the same layout of controls as Wacky Races Crash and Dash. So how is that possible? Well, I don't know. Maybe bad planning on the game controls, I guess? You know, I don't know. Maybe Eidos missed a few details in there. But, you know, in the end, it's done. Let's move on. So now, I've literally had enough of this game. So now it's time to decide. Does Wacky Races Crash and Dash please the gamers? Or has it blown a gasket? See what I did there? Cars blowing a gasket? You know? Okay. Producers, why do you write such awful gags in for me? What do you mean I request them to be put in? Don't you tell me such lies! Come here! I'll beat the living daylights out of you, boy! So there's good news and there's bad news about this game. The good news is, well, it looks generally visually appealing, the music fits the atmosphere quite well, and the Hanna-Barbera-esque cartoons before minigames actually look pretty beautiful. But then the bad news comes along. And the bad news is, not only was the game aimed at the wrong demographic of gamers, but after playing it, your arms are going to get really, really sore. Just literally, the controls are that horrible. As well as that, there's no voiceovers aside from some from Dick Dastardly and Muttley, and mostly the narrator who's constantly talking and eventually gets really, really annoying really, really fast. There's no unlockables to be found, so the game isn't rewarding in any sense at all, and Dick Dastardly and Muttley are not playable characters, even though they're the main characters of the TV show. So by now, you can probably tell that the negatives far outweigh the positives for this game. So, is it a good or a bad game? It's a bad one. And no matter how much your inner child claws and begs at your mind to get this game, do not listen to it. You must resist your inner child. You must dismiss the temptation of getting this game because it is a heap of steaming monkey crap. And I've just said that about my childhood. Yeah. I've got to do something to this game. I seriously have, because this is just like urinating on my childhood. Like a dog urinating on a carpet. But what do I do to it? I mean, I can hardly shoot a gun at it. That's probably not that original, and I'm pretty sure I saw somebody do that the other day. He was a good-looking fellow. I think he was British, too. No, I can't remember his name. Oh, well. We can burn it. And we can send its ashes to hell. Gonna burn my childhood. Gonna burn my childhood. Hey, gonna burn my childhood. Gonna burn my childhood away today. Goodbye, childhood. May you burn in hell. There we go then. that has just solved my childhood problems, I guess. But anyway, I must thank you guys for coming and visiting me today, and I hope you'll stick around for more stuff in the future. Oh, and seeing as this is the first video I've made for 2014, happy belated New Year. I know, it's 2014. I know, I haven't made a video in weeks. I know, I'm late. I know. Shut up about it! But in all seriousness, I hope 2014 is going to be a good year for you guys and for myself personally. So if 2014 is going pretty well for you at the moment, leave a comment down below with what's going on in your life that's pretty darn good at the moment. Otherwise, leave a comment on how you like this video, leave a like, share this video to your friends on email, Facebook, whatever, or just subscribe to see more of me in the future. But until next time, sayonara!